Welcome to part two of the importance of closure through ritual and tradition during the COVID-19 lockdown. In our last session, we looked at how rituals guide us through our daily lives. We explored how even the most seemingly mundane rituals help us establish our identities internally as well as externally, and how rituals help us transition not just through the day, but also from one important stage in our lives to another. Regardless of our age, whether we're a student in school or an adult with responsibilities, rituals and traditions are an important part of our identities and our communities. Historically and practically, rituals and traditions are usually carried out in real life, in real place, in real time. They have actual context that might involve concrete practices and actions and objects that include music, dress, food, hugging, dancing, eating, talking, listening, speeches, flowers, diplomas, balloons, and so forth. They're collective, tangible experiences with profound internal consequences for both the direct participants and the indirect participants. So think about what the graduating student is experiencing, and then consider what the parent or grandparent or younger sister might be processing, and the first grade teacher, and the special education counselor, and the bus driver. School ceremonies are collective experiences that have profound impact on not just how we see ourselves in the broader community, but they also help us understand our value and how we fit in. So what happens when we lose real time and real space ritual ceremonies from our lives? And specifically, what happens when we lose them from traditionally rich ceremony times, such as the end of the academic year? It's probably fair to say that all students at all grade levels now are impacted by the loss of these rituals and ceremonies. But seniors are likely going to feel this the most keenly. Graduation from high school is a once-in-a-lifetime, something that students have been preparing for 12 years and even longer. For most of their lives, they've been hearing from parents and adults that graduation marks a turning point in their lives. In New Hampshire, it's a date of adulthood and independence. It's a closure to their childhood and the start of their path into adulthood and adult community living. The high school graduation ceremony represents that transition from dependence to independence, from childhood to adulthood. It's truly a coming of age ceremony. And now, today, while I might be focusing on high school graduation, it's also important to acknowledge that all rituals of closure for children of all ages in all grades have immense function, purpose, and value in the student's feeling of wellness and belonging. So what happens when we can't have these ceremonies? What will our students be feeling? What will they be thinking and experiencing? There'll likely be a twofold emotional response of joy and profound grief at the same time. They're going to feel joy at having reached important milestones, and they're going to be proud of what they've done to get there. But they're probably also feeling incredible grief when they know that there's going to be an absence of ceremony, of ritual, and what it represents, not just internally to themselves, but they also know what it means externally to have a ceremony and to be part of it. And very likely students are going to be feeling grief and fear about the unknown and the known of what's happening in the world around them now, and its devastating impact on the people and the communities they love. As an aside, there have been a lot of studies about rituals that help us process grief. What we know is that people who participate in rituals associated with a loss, with any loss, appear to have a greater sense of control, and they're better able to cope with negative emotion associated with loss. And importantly, even small and seemingly random and unassociated rituals help people of all ages feel better and cope better. For example, studies show time and time again how small things, such as lighting a candle, even a little birthday candle, at a specific time, or stepping outside to watch a sunset or a sunrise or a noontime at a particular day and time, can have a tremendous impact on collective belonging and individual well-being. So what can we do? What can you do? I think it's really important to acknowledge in writing and verbally to students and their families that they're going to be feeling collective and individual grief. Acknowledge that the community is hurting as a whole as well. And affirm that although there might not be a June ceremony or an awards ceremony, that they've still tremendous pride and honor and immense recognition for the accomplishments of the students and their families. Let them know that coming of age rituals or awards ceremonies will happen at a later time, although it's still very undetermined when that might be. Let your students know that the future is bright and full of promise, and create a platform where students and their families can celebrate together and grieve together while they're physically apart. Unfortunately, we know that traditional closure ceremonies will not be safe for some time. But thanks to the creativity and ingenuity of teachers, parents, and school leaders, we here at the Department of Education at the Bureau of Student Wellness have been hearing about some really thoughtful and meaningful alternative celebrations around the state. We've heard about drive-through award ceremonies and plannings of drive-through graduations. We've heard of drop-off pizza parties, virtual prom dances, etc. The best thing we can do right now is to affirm the emotions of the students and their families, share their grief, and celebrate their accomplishments, and recognize that these are two very conflictive emotions that people will be feeling and processing at the same time. Let them know they're part of a community, and while it's incredibly difficult, they're going to emerge as stronger, braver, and valued members of the community. Additionally, create small opportunities for ceremonies that can be carried out by individuals and their families. It really honestly doesn't matter what you come up with, whatever these ceremonies and rituals might be. All ideas that you have and are carried out are going to have an immense opportunity for students to feel better and feel part of something bigger. So just off the top of my head, send students a small birthday candle. You don't have to spend a lot of money, or a packet of sunflower seeds to be planted in a small pot and later dropped off at the school for a future school garden. Be creative. Ask students to write a letter to their future selves, or take a photo of themselves in a makeshift cap and gown and share these letters and pictures in a later to be published yearbook. Affirm the mixed emotions and find small opportunities for ceremonies of promise. Here at the Bureau of Student Wellness, we look forward to hearing all about your creative ceremonies of closure. Thank you again for spending the moments with me and letting me talk about the importance of closing ceremonies.